meeting. It's the world's largest conference. It's a critical thinking conference. It occurs every year.
It's like this, except without the costumes,
right?
And the sex. Maybe
without the costumes. Rebecca. But seriously, folk,
Sorry, I've been in the elevators in this hotel. I can smell you kids having sex. Jesus Christ, I just wonder if you're taking off all the armor.
That Mythbusters. Very nice.
Of course, some people can go both ways.
The skeptic thing relates to your work, though, relates to your show. I mean, at the amazing meeting, the skeptic world loves you because you're one of the Mythbusters is a show that's educating people about the scientific method. When I introduced you, in fact, on stage at Woodstock, I said, you know, I think that in a generation from now, somebody's going to step up in Stockholm and accept the Nobel Prize for physics or chemistry or something and tell us that they were introduced to their love of science by watching Mythbusters as a kid. And so...
That's some strange shit that happened.
But, you know, what do you... Signals from our home planet.
I think that's you, man.
But, did I lose now? Am I good? Am I live?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, in the course of your work, I think what's great about Mythbusters is that it's not didactic. It's never tried to say, we're going to educate kids about science.
Well, that's the thing. None of it's on purpose. The fact that we become de facto science educators is all by accident. And it wouldn't work if it were any other way. If we had tried to make a show that was interesting to kids, we would have failed miserably.
Right.
And kids can smell that shit. They don't want that.
Right. That's right.
And, you know, Jamie's never talked down to anyone. It's not in his blood.
Not his thinking.
It's funny because it could be in mine. If I had stepped into the wrong show, my actorly presenter type personality might have morphed into a different thing. But Mythbusters was this fantastic vehicle for the performer in me to find this, you know, the fact is like, wow, it's a show built on stuff that I'm curious about. Holy crap, and we can tell the story about curiosity in terms of, you know, the arguments that I'm having with my partner about what he's curious about and what makes sense to finish with. And that process, which is messy and confounding and involves a lot of going down false trails, is in fact the clearest demonstration of science that's on TV. And I love that. I love having that position. I say we don't stand by our results. We're fools in, you know, these iterations of one.
Yeah.
But we stand by our methodologies. We work really hard to make sure our methodologies have at least some controls that we've dealt with. We've tried to answer the objections that people might have. And, you know, the fact that I meet people like Daniel Dennett and, you know, they respect the work that we're doing. It's just, it's incredible. And so we still try and remain true to what we're curious about. We know that we're telling a story, and we've gotten better at the narrative of telling a story. In fact, it's one of the things that we get a complaint occasionally, that there's not enough process on the show anymore. There's not enough actual building of stuff. And I took that to heart, and I've been watching the show carefully over the years. Because at first, the lack of process in the very beginning was because it was like a lot of me falling on my ass and like building up arguments between me and Jamie and stuff. Then there's this whole, like the whole second, third, fourth season, there's a lot more process than there is now. And honestly, it's because we're telling more complicated stories. Just to hit all the buttons of the narrative that we're telling means that there's a lot more talking and there's not enough time for watching us doing the stapling and talking about what the build is. And we let that happen organically.
Another thing we share is an interest in magic. done your share of practicing a little magic, a little sleight of hand. People probably don't know much about that. But in particular, with regard to playing cards, which is sort of my specialty, you have a particular skill with regard to playing cards.
Oh my God, really? You're going to ask me to do this? Oh, you gave me
No, not that. No. That.
Oh, this. Oh, okay. I thought he was going to ask me to Pharaoh.
I thought of that, but it's too hard to do. That's the house? I can't do that.
All right, that's good. There you go. I actually drew blood from my cameraman right above his eye.
That's comedy.
All right, one last one. Here we go. Oh, wait.
That was tough. That was a good one.
I've also, there's a type of shuffling when you take the cards on edge and you weave the two halves together. It's called Pharaoh shuffle. And there's just a property that if you Pharaoh...
It's a perfect shuffle, so it's a perfect weave. You split the deck at 26 and you can weave the cards every other card cover.
It sounds impossible, it sounds unlikely, but the fact is, actually, as Jamie told me early on, he says, you play the cards enough, you realize that they're not thin pieces of paper, they're actually like boards, they're paddles. You can learn to actually separate the deck perfectly, 26 and 26, just by feel and eye, which is a lovely thing to see happen to your body as you learn these. I love that intersection of something so bizarre as this bag of mostly water and meat, being able to do really precise things like shoot a hole through the middle of a quarter or separate cards perfectly. That precision with such a blunt instrument is beautiful.
Yeah, that's part of what sleight of hand is about, actually, is getting a very precise, small thing to happen, but then applying it. The difference is it's applying it to a different purpose and creative.
I'll tell you, there are a few in the audience who've had this pleasure. If you ever get the chance to sit down at dinner with Jamie, don't hesitate to ask him to blow your fucking mind, because he will. And he'll do these things with cards in front of you that the first 5 or 6 times it happened, my face just kept on hurting because you can't do anything but just smile and laugh about what you're seeing because it's impossible. And as your friend Julia Sweeney said, magic's all us atheists have left. And it's just, so as I've been playing around with the Pharaoh shuffle and I've played around with a couple of tricks, it becomes this, I've come to learn that it's terrifying to take someone to the, it's weird, it's not just like, oh, this is your card, ooh, everyone's like, ooh. There's a thing of making someone believe that something impossible has happened, which is very different than that. And it's a great responsibility, and I find it's a terrifying one. And I've watched Jamie, it's literally like he almost grabs you by the lapel and holds you, like Robert Mitchum, out over the hotel ledge, safely. It's like, here you are, you're out here on this precipice, it's okay, I've got you. And like, that's what it's like when he does these impossible tricks with someone.
And when you were first sort of exploring that, and we were talking about magic and reading some things and buying some things and whatever, but there was a kind of a moment, if I'm not mistaken, at that party.
Well, so Jamie wanted to, you wanted me to understand the difference between effect and affect.
Yeah, and I mean, we were having some difficulty about that in conversing about it.
Somewhere, some part of you just fell down the stairs.
Correct.
Jamie's actually a hollow automaton.
But anyway, but we were, you jumped in, and as is your habit, your nature, you jumped on a couple of things that were really difficult and really hard, and actually started to make progress with them, which I think made it harder in some ways.
Well, I was trying
to explain to you
So
what else there
I'm a
was.
technique-based learner.
Yeah.
Right? So I get my hands on something and I start playing with it, and I figure that's the intersection where I'm going to start to learn what I need to learn. And you are the soul of magic. The soul of magic isn't in the technique with your hands. That's what I was learning from you there. Is that the technique I was learning was actually going to potentially hinder my ability to create an important effect on somebody.
Right, because the method is not the trick.
Right.
The bottom line is the method is not the trick. The method's not the trick in any art. Whether it's, you learn to play a scale, it doesn't really inform you how to create music. You learn to focus a camera, it doesn't inform you how to be a filmmaker. And in magic, when people say, how do you do that? They think that the method is the trick. But the method is usually this really primitive, horrible, very often kind of ugly thing.
I love that the pen says the only reason they don't reveal their tricks is because most of them are really disappointing. And if it's a good reveal, they'll do it.